Welcome to the Barker Podcast Collection.
I suck, you suck, I suck at Call of Duty. You suck. You suck. You suck.
Welcome to the Not Playing Podcast. My name's Rob Howard, and this week I'm joined by
Ian Bruce
and Marcus Hurley
and Will.
So yeah, I think we're going to be talking about some games that we'd like to see sequels to. But first, there's a couple of bits of news I wanted to get to. First up is there was Paris Games Week. I think by the time this comes out, it was a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, Sony decided to drop like a bunch of trailers, effectively. Did anyone catch any of these at all?
I saw The Last of Us one.
the Paris. The Paris game show. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
great.
I read one of the live feeds. I read the Eurogamer live feed, but I wasn't in a position to watch any of the videos. And frankly, none of it sounded interesting enough to me to go back and watch any of it.
I don't know. There was I can't remember the name of it now. There's a samurai sort of epic one which looked like it was Neo 2.
Oh yeah, Sword of Sushi or something.
Yeah,
Ghost of
sushi of
Sushi.
tuna.
It's not a great
Jesus.
name, to be honest. It's Ghost of Tsushima.
Yes.
Sashimi.
Apparently. And
Ghost
this
of
is by the
Sashimi.
guys. This is the new game by Sucker Punch, who did what was it? The superhero one.
Yeah. Oh Christ, what's it called? First Light.
Infamous.
Second Son. Infamous.
Infamous.
Second Son. Yeah, the Infamous.
Yeah.
That's
stuff.
the one. Infamous, yeah.
Memorable
Which are all right
stuff.
games. They were pretty good as far as like sort of simulating being a superhero in an open world type thing and
Yeah.
having the power of electricity and stuff. But
Yeah, but I would say from that game to this game looks like an actual full-on AAA title rather than
Yeah, it
a
looks like they're-
superhero GTA sort of thing.
yeah, it looks like they're kind of making their Witcher or something, but with lots of
Well,
Japanese
can I
lore.
point out, it's not the first time. So what we had were the guys that did the Killzone games, you know, who had very much been typecast into a thing, came out and gave us Horizon Zero Dawn. So I'm very much willing
Yep.
to
Yeah.
reserve judgment just on that
Yep.
basis, having seen a Sony studio do that, and see what this comes out with. So,
True.
but
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
might watch the
definitely.
trailer so I can understand how much sushi is involved.
Yeah, yeah.
It looked like
there
it
was
was a lot of bad sushi.
There was also what else was there? Oh, they showed some more of that Detroit Become Human, which I don't know, kind of made me feel a bit icky. Really, they seem like they want to tackle some child abuse type scenarios in that, which was a bit. Don't know if that looks very much
There was,
fun.
there
to
was
be
another
honest.
game on a similar thread called. Actually, it was Detroit Become Human, wasn't it? With a robot and the choices and the little girl. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. No, that was freaky. I thought it was called something else because it's because there was a phrase like something kills daddy or something. Molly kills daddy, and I thought that was the game. But yeah,
So I was-
no, it was freaky.
I was listening to the IGN UK podcast, and some of the journalists on that said they afterwards got a little bit more time hands-on with it, and rather than going, oh, and look, that trailer was just showing one way the story could turn out. No, it's all shit and dark and horrible, and they didn't think much. So,
Cool.
yeah, I'm not that bothered about that. But Guacamelee too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I enjoyed the first one on the old Vita. That was good.
I enjoyed it.
Mon- Monster Hunter
that was
World.
a good time killer. Oh yeah, that looks interesting. I've not seen the
I'm-
latest
yeah.
trailer, but it sounds pretty cool.
I'm looking forward to that. That's on my list. I actually have a games list. It's scary. Not a
Wow.
pile of shame. A games I'm looking forward to list.
Well, possibly before the next time we record, next time we chat, I might be able to talk about some of the Switch games.
Ooh.
Oh right, you're
I'm
yeah.
gonna take the plunge.
Wow.
This
cool.
time.
Yeah, I'm very close to it myself. What game? Any games in particular you got your eye on for that?
It's got to be Breath of the Wild. It's got to be Breath of the Wild to
Yeah.
start with.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right
Yeah.
move.
But obviously, I'm buying it as a family console, so it'll be.
Totally.
It's very much about the family party games. And,
Edutainment.
Yeah, and Breath of the Wild.
Except when you're on your way to and from work.
Precisely.
Cool. Yeah. No, I'm just trying to get through my Netflix queue so I can go. Oh, I'm really bored traveling, so I can get one. But yeah. Right. So yeah. Anything else they showed there that was of interest? I think we pretty much covered most of it. God of War. They showed something very short for that.
No
That's
comments
coming
on
up.
Last of Us 2?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. There was the trailer, which was really, really brutal, and
Oh, yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, didn't feature any of the characters from the first game.
Apart from Ellie.
Was Ellie in that?
Yeah, she was the one that was
Strung
saved
up.
at the end.
So 50%
Oh.
of the main characters, at least.
Yeah, so
Says
most of
she's
the main
older.
characters. She's older.
Oh, okay. So perhaps I was just too disturbed to actually realise that.
Still going to be a
well,
little
yeah,
girl
yeah,
forever.
Yeah, it was pretty grim.
Yeah, clipping wings and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yes. Tasty.
Didn't Sony
Wasn't very-
sandwich, so they put this really dark Last of Us 2 trailer on it. They did something like really cheerful and they went straight in for like child abuse as the big kicker at the end of it or something.
It was the child abuse was in the Detroit trailer. Yeah, it was all a bit. Yeah,
Hey,
I don't
look
know,
at our
but
mature gaming platform.
yeah, they showed a bit more of Spider-Man. That looked pretty cool.
Yeah. I might actually
Actually,
give
that
a
did
look.
look quite good, actually. Quite fun.
Yeah, I think overall their message was, yeah, that new Xbox that's coming out, you won't be able to play any of this on that.
Yeah.
You know, so I think they were definitely sending a message there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
I'm looking forward to Black Friday.
Yeah.
PS4
Speaking of-
Pro,
Me too.
Pro.
Ooh, new tumble dryer.
Speaking of what now?
PS4 Pro.
Black.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're gonna get one.
My new tumble
Yeah.
dryer
Yeah.
is exciting me, but it's not really strictly in line with this podcast.
I might get a new telly. That's for sure. Depends on the
4K?
whole. Yeah, maybe. I think it's difficult to not get 4K these days. You have to kind of really go out of your way.
Well, basically, if you go below about the 40-inch mark, there's no point. But yeah, anything bigger than 40-inch, you might as well just go 4K now.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, but speaking of games you can't play, it's very sad news the other week about Visceral Games being shut down by EA. Visceral Games were working with Amy Hennig on a single-player Star Wars game, which I was very interested in, bearing in mind like the talent involved. I understand like the original idea for this was to be a big-budget single-player game, and it seems that EA have decided to pivot away from that idea and go for the loot boxes and looting and shooting and treadmill type thing.
What's that?
it's-
Games as a service?
Yeah. Personally, I'm really gutted about this. It was a game that they'd not really shown very much of, but I guess it just wasn't coming together the way they wanted it to, and it's EA, you know, it's they're in the business of making money, and it's a sad thing. But wondered if anyone had any other thoughts on it apart from that.
It's EA. At the end of the day, they are very much shifting towards the multiplayer experiences, and they're one of the worst studios, in my opinion, for being not so much all about the players as all about the cash. A lot of the big publishers are that way, but I think EA, you look at what they've done to Dragon Age over the years, you look at how Mass Effect has gone, and they're very much pushing that towards the hunt, the loot, the keep people pushing towards it. They're not looking at crafted gameplay experiences anymore, and I do wonder if maybe some of the talent they had in there resisted what the execs were pushing for too much, and the whole thing just didn't work.
I can imagine.
To be honest, though, if when that happens and studios get closed down like that, often you'll find another little studio will open up with all of the talent that was used before. Look at Clover. Clover got shut down and they came together and became Platinum Games or something like that as well, and they were the old, so they're kind of like, you know, they were made up of old people that used to work for Capcom and everything.
Yeah, that's the hope.
And they didn't want to. Yeah. So, lots of these studios get together. They've still got the mindset, and basically they just go straight with the publisher rather than a big intermediary.
But it's just
hopefully
such a
we'll
shame.
see more of them again. Well, who knows? I mean, we might have the exact same game, but without the Star Wars. It might just be a futuristic bounty hunter element. So
a good quality
who knows?
sci-fi game, good quality sci-fi single-player experience, like Bethesda are probably working on at the moment.
Hopefully.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I think because a lot of people are like, oh, it's the death of single-player games, but I think you'll just have to look for those elsewhere. I think because of like things like the Unreal Engine being really easy to use, it's lowering the overhead for making those kind of games. And the problem is that, you know, it would be so nice for a game like with the Star Wars license to be able to, like, for a single-player experience in the Star Wars universe. That would be great. But there's just so much baggage that comes with that license. Like they have overheads on like having that license as well.
Yeah.
That makes it even more expensive. So really, I think what's going to happen is, well, what they've said it deliberately blatantly in the press release when they announced about Visceral Games closing, they said that they pivoted the design and those assets were all going to be used for something else. So
I'm hoping we're going to see more. What we're actually seeing is some interesting stuff coming from Eastern Europe at the moment. So whilst the American and the big international publishers are just pursuing the money, we've got studios not sprung up as such. You know, places like CD Projekt Red who are working on Cyberpunk. You've got a lot of Kickstarter-funded stuff. You've got this, I can't remember the name of it at the moment, Kingdom Come Deliverance on its way, which sounds really interesting.
Can't wait for that.
And it's basically independent, but it's going to a level of polish. And I think we're going to start seeing stuff coming from that sort of direction. And you know what? It's because everyone's like, it's only indie or it's only AAA. And I think we're actually seeing that stuff coming in the mid-range. And that's where we're going to see our quality single-player coming from.
Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah, because Kingdom Come, that was like a Kickstarter crowdfunding thing, and they've taken their sweet time about it. But you know, I think like they had a bar they wanted to hit. You know, it's coming out in February, I think now.
That's it. It's going to be a multi-part or something. They're going to so it's going to be. I think they're going to do it in 3 stages. But you know what? I'll definitely be giving it a punt.
Yeah, and it's coming out on the consoles as well as PC. So. Nice. Yeah, can't wait for that. Right, so yeah, I guess from there we can go into some sequels for games that we'd like to see, and one that I would like to see that is definitely never going to happen is another Dead Space game.
Yeah, that's a really good choice. An excellent choice, in fact.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the first two.
Sorry,
and
do remind me, Rob. Who was the publisher for them?
Yeah, EA and Visceral. So we'll probably never get this. We might get something like it if the people leave, all of those guys leave and do their own thing. But I mean, it wasn't really about the franchise. I was never really beholden to the franchise. It was just the delivery of it that I really enjoyed. And the first game was like a survival horror. The second game was like maybe a little bit more actiony, and by the third game, they'd kind of gone all the way that way, but it was great because you got to kind of experience that with a friend. And I know that Ian, you played through it all in co-op, didn't you?
Oh, sweet Jesus, I did. But you did as well, didn't you?
I did with Adam, yeah. So we both did it, but with different partners.
Yes.
But yeah, it was fucking great. It was like a proper 20-hour game.
Yeah, it was really full on.
Yeah, and you could. Yeah, and just the exploration of all these areas, and you could kind of go different ways, and of course you could outfit your weapons to with complementary style, like so. You know, I remember
there was a lot of time. What are you doing? I'm changing my beanie and stuff. Just
there's a
beanie management. But I'm fairly sure we've spoken about this before. But the other key bit for me was it played tricks with you. Where you'd see things and they'd be a bit weird. And I don't really want to spoil it. Fairly sure we spoiled it before. But I'm fairly sure it's still available and undoubtedly very cheap. It's definitely worth a look if you've got a buddy who doesn't mind being slightly freaked out with you. And the combat was really solid. It always felt like you were connecting with stuff. Or accidentally firing a grenade on the ceiling to bounce back and blow both of you up. Yeah, really good fun.
Yeah, I might have had a few grenade mishaps in that. And I love what you're talking about. You reminded me actually about the whole thing where you would see something differently to what the other player would.
But you'd both be in the same space. That's the main bit.
Yeah, and then you'd be like, "What are you firing at?"
Yeah, the other person would just see you walking around the same dull and ambient spaceship, but you'd be seeing some deathly shit coming out the walls and all kinds of freaky shit going. Oh.
Yeah.
That was really great.
Yeah, $5.99 on PC, according to Amazon, and £12 on Xbox 360.
Cool.
So, yeah, worth a steal. But yeah, Dead Space 4 won't ever happen. But I look forward to the spiritual successor, whoever wants to pick up that gauntlet.
Yes. Well, you just said UE4's easy. Why don't you do it yourself, mate?
Yeah, no worries. I'll sort it out over Christmas. I've got a few weeks off.
Cool. Excellent.
Right, who wants to go next?
It'll have to be somebody else.
I'm going to call out a real blast from the past. One of the games I probably spent the most time on the Sega Mega Drive.
Right.
Actually, there were two. So I was looking into some old school games. There was the first one that sprang to mind, which was Toe Jam and Earl. Now, they did a couple of sequels, and then I thought I'd look it up, and there is a new Toe Jam and Earl game coming out next year.
Nice.
And it's going to be, up to 9-player characters, but it's going to have the procedural generated maps and finding the presence of basically the same premise of the game. So, my wish is granted on that. So I'm now looking at Speedball 2. Well, Speedball 2 being the game I'd like to see a sequel to, so Speedball 3 I'm after. Does any of you guys remember that?
Very vaguely.
Now, this was a Bitmap Brothers classic. It was an over-the-head sports game based in a violent dystopian future where basically you had two teams and they had to chuck a ball into a goal. But basically you got to beat the crap out of the other players. As you played, as you won, you could buy new players in. It was just a good fun two-player sports game. But I think it could be really improved with the modern technology, good quality campaign over the top, the whole manager stuff. I think it'd be fantastic. So I suspect you can get Speedball 2 itself on an emulator these days. I doubt it's seen the light of day on a console. But I think that would be that's something I'd be quite excited about. I think could make a cracking little indie release.
Cool.
I think they tried to do this.
There was talk about it about 5-6 years ago. One of the guys from Bitmap Brothers was saying, there might be a Speedball 3. But I don't think it ever took off. But I think it's the sort of thing that could well get crowdfunded these days.
Yeah, I think the idea was that you would only control like one player each, and that you would play like in multiplayer games.
Oh wow!
I don't know if that's really got off the ground in any way at all. I think there might have been a football game that attempted that, it's troublesome production, whatever it was that they were trying to do with that. Cool. Yeah. Okay. You got any, Marcus?
There's one game. It's actually on a PS4, the original game that came out about 2 years ago. It's a game called Bloodborne.
Oh right. Yeah.
I've played bits of it. I love it. It's a sort of third-person, almost like a Van Helsing style game where you turn up in this town and basically you start fighting hordes of nightmarish creatures and bosses. If you check out a video of it on YouTube, it is fucking nightmarish.
We are all talking about
some of these
same
bosses.
Bloodborne, right?
You sink into your seat. So
I think we've all heard of it.
Yeah,
I've got it, but
you've got it.
I've barely scratched the surface of it. It's a nasty game.
It's quite difficult. It's from the Dark Souls people, but I would love for there to be a sequel. Because I've played bits of it, and I've seen bits from the DLC campaign. The DLC campaign was amazing, apparently. It was actually one of the best sort of DLC you could get in addition to the game. There's so much more to it. So I would love for them to actually bring out a sequel of that, just in time for me to get a shiny PS2. And,
I think it'll be interesting.
For that game to come out.
I think a Bloodborne 2 is pretty much guaranteed. I think it was very successful.
I don't know, actually. I wouldn't say it's guaranteed.
Oh no, I would honestly say it was one of the most successful PS4 exclusives in the last few years. It did extremely well. Obviously, it's not quite beaten the Uncharted.
But it doesn't mean it's guaranteed, because there could be another Dark Souls game, and then they could just do that.
I think I've heard that the creators of both those franchises are on a little bit of a break from it at the moment. They kind of did a lot of that stuff, and I know that the guy that's really I heard that the guy behind both those franchises was kind of after doing something a bit different.
Yeah.
But I would say like Bloodborne 2 is a no-brainer. It would shift like bucket loads.
I just love that he's called Miyazaki. And just like the other Miyazaki, he makes magic.
yeah.
But yeah, no, that game was almost a console buy for me.
Oh, it is. I think it
when that
shifted a
game
lot of
came out,
PS4s. Yeah, it was an essential
when
purchase.
when that game came out, I almost bought a PS4 Pro, like there and then. But yeah.
Oddly enough, I did play it for about an hour, 2 hours, and I'm one of those people. I'm not very good at these Dark Soulsy type games when I keep dying, because I only often get an hour to play at a time. I don't get the time to actually get the muscle memory going to be able to remember the layout of the levels and how to kill everyone. So I ended up just playing the first bit over and over and over. Never really made any progress. So I gave up, if I'm honest. But
no, it is quite a tough game because there's no block. You have to dodge your attacks, and that's how you do it. You dodge and you counter with a pistol. And so those game mechanics, you immediately on the back foot. You have to be offensive to be defensive.
That's it, yeah, because you can only gain your energy back.
But there were so many little tricks in it that I hadn't realised. Like, as you kill more enemies, you get this thing called insight, which gives you a look into like more of the world you're in. And you start seeing crazier shit and things get stronger. And the beasts start changing because the more insight you have into the peek behind the curtain, you start seeing more mental stuff and things just start freaking you out more.
It's like whenever you start a new
thought was
job,
quite
really.
cool.
I've always
I'm
got
in
something,
that
you
bit
start a
now.
new job. Oh, this place seems really cool, and then you get more and more stuff done, and then you suddenly realise what psychos you're working with and what a big nightmare monstrosity the whole place is. I mean, haven't we all been there?
Yeah.
Moving on.
Another Bayonetta sequel. I would quite happily play one of those. They're really fun. I enjoyed them.
Was 2 good?
2 was good. 2 was excellent. It only came out on the Wii U, unfortunately.
You'll see on
it
the
was
Switch.
a Nintendo exclusive. It kind of, but that was the only way that they would do it because Sega wouldn't do it otherwise. But
no one else would pay for it to be made.
It had some fantastic sort of cameos in there because, like, there was a weird. Obviously the whole purpose of it is that you've got alternative outfits for the costumes and stuff and the characters. One of them where you had a Fox McCloud outfit, and there's a sequence in there that's basically based on Afterburner, where you're flying like an F-15 or an F-14, taking out sort of angels heading towards this holy mountain. If you're wearing the Star Fox outfit, it turns into an A-wing. And you've got barrel rolls, everything, but the graphics are like not classic Star Fox. It looks pretty damn good. It was one of the best looking sort of Wii U games I'd seen, to be honest.
The first game was fucking mental.
Yeah, this is just as nuts. But I don't know. I don't see how they would do a sequel though, because the storyline folds in on itself a bit and stuff. So, but then they could do one afterwards. Who knows? But yeah, I would love to see a third one in the series, just to make it a nice trilogy.
Cool, Ian. You got anything?
I've got 2. One sequel to the best game ever made, obviously, The Saboteur.
Oh, right, yeah.
Pandemic, 2009. It's basically GTA in World War II. You play as an Irishman being part of the underground in Paris. It's quirky as fuck, but it has so much charm. The gameplay is incredibly addictive, and I've probably played it all the way through 15 times since it's come out.
Wow.
The finale is breathtaking. Jesus. It's not necessarily going to tick all the story beats that everybody wants, but there's some really good racing sections. The way the map works, it's like France is condensed and the countryside is just a little bit between towns. That's done in many games, but it really feels like you're there, and the world has a lot of atmosphere, really lovely music, and it's improved as graphics things have kind of helped it through its graphical quirks, which were a massive problem when it came out. Annoyingly, the studio shut down very shortly after the game was released, but it did look like the game was built to allow different cities to come in. If you look at the folder structure of the games, I think it's called Paris, the main game bit, so they could have had other cities with the same characters, and that would have been awesome. The team went on to work for Respawn and Infinity Ward and other big studios, so they've all done other stuff. But I'd quite like somebody. Maybe you could do it over Christmas, Rob. Once you've done your sequel, just shit out something else in UE4 and away we go. The Saboteur 2, that would be great.
Yeah, no, I'll get on that.
Excellent, thanks, mate. But that Easter launch, don't want to get all the money at once, do you?
Well, I'm moving house at the same time, but I should be able to fit it in.
Yeah, you'll be fine. And the other one is a proper sequel to Stalker. I know that there have been a number of sequels to Stalker, and they were pretty good. And one could argue that the Metro games and similar are sequels to Stalker. But I liked the world, and it would be good to see it maybe getting remade. I know there are some really sweet graphics mods for the original and the sequels that make it look modern. It looked very good at the time, but I loved the atmosphere of the worlds. But you could probably argue that Escape from Tarkov, the shooter that the team are making at the moment, and that's in early access, is probably that. But it was never really multiplayer. It was always about creeping around the world and trying to do stuff. And I was entranced by it. And there are games that I've played all the way through many times as well. Maybe I should buy a Switch or something and do something different. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No. I've got a couple more. One that I just thought of actually is I'd like to see the rest of Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, because after hearing that they'd basically carved up that game into 3, and there were going to be 2 more installments, they decided to go and get themselves a Marvel license and are making games about that instead, which is fine. I'm quite intrigued to see what they do with those licenses, that license rather, and what characters they're going to do. But yeah, it's a bit of a bummer really, because Deus Ex: Mankind Divided felt like a little bit. It definitely felt like it had the edges filed off, or part of it removed and
value engineered.
Yeah, I think basically that game just kind of tanked a bit, and they weren't able to do what they wanted, which is a shame.
I have another quick one, if I might.
Go on.
It's a game that I think that you and I have played a lot of, Robert. I'm not sure about everybody, but it would be good to go back to what it was like when it first came out. You could call it like a classic mode.
World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that would be the one.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I thought you might say that.
Yeah,
they are doing that.
They are doing that. Yes, it's a news topic hybrid.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I heard they're after telling some people stop it.
Yes, stop running the servers that let you do this for free. Yeah.
We'll do it ourselves and make people pay for it, basically.
Lovely.
I'm up for it. I'm really up for it. I loved doing the beta and stuff 13 years ago it was now, for Christ's sake.
I remember that because that's when I moved into this place.
I've still never played it, and I think it's probably best if I don't.
Yeah, it'll suck us a bit of time.
You could play it when it reboots, like in time warp mode.
With what
It'd be like
time?
going back.
Yeah, it's a place to put all your living hours, definitely.
Yeah.
Speaking of games like that, I would. It's not so much wanting a sequel, but I would like Phantasy Star Online 2, the actual official sequel, to be released outside of just Japan. I was playing it for about 6 months through various methods, and I just think because the storyline seemed quite great, but I couldn't be bothered to try and read up on it with my Japanese dictionary. I got tired. And Google Translate, I was just like, oh, this is tedious after a while. But it
even at the
seems
speed
so
that
much
those
fun.
characters
I
come
loved
along.
I loved the first game and the second one. The follow-up sort of chapters to it. But it is the actual official sequel that was released. A lot of effort's gone into it, and they never released it outside Japan, which I just think is annoying. North America is still waiting. Apparently there was meant to be a North American release, but I don't think that happened. Yeah.
Do I need to
Bugger.
have a word with someone at work? Is that one of ours?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I still have the Japanese emails to prove it. But there is actually one game I would like an official sequel to, Okami.
Oh yes, I had that.
I would love that to get. I would love that to get the Shadow of the Colossus HD remake treatment, because I think that game would just look glorious. Not a remake, but a sequel in that same engine. Because Shadow of the Colossus. Yeah, I was going to say, because I think they're doing it on PC, aren't they? Well, Shadow of the Colossus, I thought it was just going to be a HD update, but when I saw the footage for that, fuck me, it looked good.
Yeah, Okami that's coming in HD to PC, PS4, and Xbox One in December. So, that game though, seriously, Marcus, that game was like a very long game. Yeah. Like it ends, and then it ends again, and then it still doesn't end. And I would have
Return of the King. Jesus.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a fantastic game with some great ideas, love the visuals, everything.
Oh yeah.
But the goddamn voiceover of the little dudes warbling away.
Yeah,
my God, that's really did my head in.
But in a world where free-thinking independent games get struck down by the evil empire, you need something that will bring back a little smile to your face and a little annoyance.
It was
to
a
your
glorious
heart.
game. It was. I have fond memories of playing through that.
Yeah, I just think it would be quite fun to revisit it or have a sequel with something that, like I said, looks a bit like the Shadow of Colossus engine, because that's a very similar sort of feel. And I don't know, that just gave me the warm and fuzzies watching that trailer.
I certainly embrace the idea of more games being made in that ilk.
Speaking of free thinking, though, one game that is on my list. Again, I spent a fair amount of time on this one. Unfortunately, I think the chances of us seeing it. So the original was published by Electronic Arts. The studio was bought out by Microsoft and shut down a few years ago. So things aren't looking great. So go on, Rob. Do you want to guess?
Fable.
Right studio, wrong game. Black and White.
Black and White.
Now, Black and White 2 particularly for me. So the concept on that one, it was one of those sort of God mode games where you played the god. But the fantastic twist on this is that you had this creature that was your mortal will strolling the planet, and it could be like a cow or a lion or a monkey, and it grew more powerful as you did, and it learnt from your behaviours. So if you were nice to the villagers, it was nice. If you treated it well, it learnt. But it was very simple artificial intelligence. Obviously, it was all programmed in. But again, I just think that could be fascinating. With where AI technology is sitting these days, and the learning and potentially the ability to influence it through social media, world happenings, big data, all of that stuff, and to have a creature that even monitored the way you post on Facebook or anything like that. If you think about the power of the data, if you can have a Twitter account and your Twitter reactions affect how your in-game avatar is, or something along those lines. It could be absolutely awesome. Or you could even point it at someone else's Twitter account. Can you imagine if you had this in-game creature, maybe some sort of weird orange Oompa Loompa thing that actually you just fed it the Donald Trump Twitter account, just saw how it wreaked havoc on the small villages around it. I just think that'd be incredible. So I'd love to see. Well, I'd love to see Black and White 3. Whether it's called Black and White 3 or whether it's a game following the similar principles, I think that could be amazing. But I just think with the capabilities there are these days and the amount of data that's out there, it could really do some cool stuff. I mean, machine learning is a thing. I think that would be
amazing. I think that would be great, actually.
Yeah, it was an early example of machine learning, arguably.
That was like the original hype thing that I bought into with games. Like, I was so excited to play that game because Molyneux was like the grandmaster of hype.
He was good at selling an idea.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember I went out and I bought a special mouse for that game that had like force feedback in it. So when you would pick up like the grain or whatever, it would you would get force feedback on your mouse. Mental. And I remember like there was stuff in there where it would work out, if you were connected to the internet, it would work out what the weather was like where you were, and it would make the weather in the game the same. And it would go through your email and name the villagers after your contacts, stuff like that.
I didn't realise it was actually at that level. So that just shows what it could do now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Oh, sorry, I thought that's what you were referencing, like how that they could advance that, but they were doing that kind of stuff with it.
Personally, I didn't even know it was there.
No, that was. Yeah, apparently it was. I didn't really make that much difference, to be honest. But I mean, yeah, I thought that's what you were referencing. Yeah, yeah, like they could do loads of stuff with that now. But yeah, Molyneux's kind of gone away now.
I think that in and of itself may be for the best. I'm not certain, but
yeah, he's fine. I'm sure he's fine. Bathing in all his money.
Yeah. So one other thing remaining on my list. There have been attempts since, but this harks back to the days of the ZX Spectrum.
Woohoo!
So one of the
first, Willie, Chucky Egg.
Well, it was the game of the first film I saw at the cinema, which was Ghostbusters.
Oh, glorious game.
Now,
what a glorious game.
Yeah,
Jesus.
You remember it? You could drive around and you started and you levelled up your vehicle and you did jobs, and as you caught ghosts, you made money and you responded to things. It was almost an open world game. Things cropped up, you went and sorted them, and you could upgrade your kit, you could upgrade your cars. Now, they put out a Ghostbusters game recently which got universally panned as being a desperate, awful attempt at a movie tie-in that wasn't even close. It was clearly just some shoddy software house doing it. But you could have a pretty good quality open world Ghostbusters game. Have the different tech, cooperative play potentially, and a decent levelling up system. And I think that would be absolutely brilliant. Also, you could have some fun in what they attempted with what was that game? Evolve, where you had people playing the monsters. Wouldn't it be fun if this was an online thing and you got to now and again play the ghost? So you've got people coming around to try and catch you. Yeah. And I think there's something interesting there. I'd love to see them take the classic Ghostbusters formula and, well, obviously when I say put a modern take on it, I don't mean just loot boxes, but take it and apply it.
They kind of do that with Friday the 13th and stuff, don't they? And there's other games like that where
that's a kind of genre that's popped up now, isn't it? The sort of it's the multiplayer, stuff. But
asymmetric multiplayer.
Yeah, but one person plays the villain.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
That would be cool.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a few here that are gonna just get sequels. Like, I hope there's more Horizon Zero Dawn. We're getting the add-on next month anyway, or this week. Actually, I think it drops.
It's pretty soon. The Christmas one.
Did you see the crossover?
What?
Apparently, the Horizon Zero Dawn character is playable in the new Monster Hunter game.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that'll be a Sony kind of
it's a weird studio crossover.
Is Monster Hunter a PlayStation exclusive? I hadn't paid much attention.
I think it's PC as well.
No.
It's been on Nintendo systems for years, so that's why I thought it was a bit strange.
Yeah, it's not on Xbox. I think it's as far as.
Oh, if Sony bought the console,
that's guaranteed.
Oh, hang on, was that a timed exclusive? I don't normally Sony don't do that sort of stuff, but I've got a feeling it's Monster Hunter World, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't actually know yet.
I get all mixed up because I know for a while it was only on Wii U and because
no, it's out on everything.
He's a big fan.
It will be on Xbox One.
Really? Yeah, that's it. There's some PlayStation 4 exclusive characters and stuff. So almost certainly Aloy is going to be... Yeah, Aloy is a PlayStation 4 exclusive character, but the game isn't a PS4 exclusive. That makes more sense.
Yeah, they were playing up the fact that you'll be able to play other characters from other Sony games, whereas there aren't any other like Xbox games.
No, you could do it as Master Chief.
Master Chef.
Master Chef, that's it. Or that guy with
that easily recognisable chap that emotes and has facial expressions.
The Chief.
Well, it's animators, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose. No, obviously we'll probably get some more Uncharted games, even though I think the game earlier in the year, prove that series can survive on without its lead character.
What we need is an Indiana Jones game based on that tech.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Again,
less killing, more exploration and puzzle solving.
Yeah,
I think is the trick, because Uncharted and now Tomb Raider, they're massive killathons. Really, you look at the body count there, and I really fancy just an exploration puzzle game. Okay, if you've got to hurt a few people, you do it. But when you basically wipe out half the population of whichever third world country's artefacts you're stealing, it does feel a little bit harsh.
Well, to be honest, it's other people going in there and trying to nick the stuff you're nicking and aren't prepared to ask any questions.
And they're employing
and are shooting at you.
No, these people go in and they employ local guards, and these local guards have got families they need to support. These guys are paying well, and Drake comes in and pops caps in their bitch asses.
Hashtag prayers and thoughts.
Prayers and thoughts. Yeah.
Well, he's clearly got mental health problems.
Oh wow! We should just skirt around this issue and move on, perhaps.
Yeah. I've got The Witcher 4 written down here, but I don't expect that's going to happen anytime soon.
Sadly.
And to be honest, we've got probably 200 hours of it. If you've got through all of that,
I'm actually just coming towards the end of Blood and Wine, and I've finally just gotten a little bit of Witcher fatigue.
Yeah, I'm thinking by the time you've got to the end of that, you probably don't give a fuck if there's any more Witcher or not.
Yeah, you get to the point, I'm kind of like, side quest, nah, main quest, just do it.
I'm in the middle of Hearts of Stone at the moment, and I'm loving it. So I'm looking forward to Blood and Wine next, but I'm in no hurry to get there because I'm trying not to get that fatigue.
I made the mistake of starting The Witcher 3 again to get a character I was comfortable with to do the expansions and forgetting how many hundreds of hours it would take me to get ready to play the expansions. So I've just redone The Witcher 3, gone straight onto Hearts of Stone and now finishing Blood and Wine, and I've not played anything else since, like, I don't know, the start of the summer.
Yeah, they're massive.
Blimey.
Yeah, but did you, just out of interest, as a quick aside, when I started playing the DLC for Witcher, I started doing the rune crafting thing or whatever, and I've got no money at all. It's completely cleared me out.
I didn't bother with the rune crafting. I actually found it to be shit. Once I've got an incredible at Igni, I just set everything on fire.
Yeah, I think I just got...
My magic is powerful enough that I can set anything, even if it's made of stone. Yeah, just set it on fire. It's screwed. I don't really need to do anything else. It's like, oh, hello, enemies. Look, you're on fire. I don't hit them with a sword. I just wait for them to burn.
Yeah, I've got a sword that does a chance of fire, but I don't use Igni. I mostly just use the shield thing and occasionally the force push. That's how I go.
Get one of those respec potions, shift all of your punt into Igni, put runes in all your armour, and just go through as an absolute arsonist. It's fun.
You're listening to the Nerdcast.
Oh, yes.
Nerd! No, it's fire, not nerds.
So, sorry, The Witcher, it's really good. Did I mention?
Yeah, to use a quote, we'll take this one offline.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Well, I'm surprised no one's mentioned it, but Half-Life 3.
It's too soon, man. It's too soon.
Yeah, well, it's too soon from finding out pretty much conclusively that it's never going to happen.
I was waiting for Half-Life 4.
It's going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
When consoles and PCs are no longer capable of creating games, then they'll create Half-Life 3.
Valve are aware that as conversations go, continually people talking about Half-Life 4 will remind people that Valve exists, will remind people that Steam exists. However, if they release Half-Life 3, it can only be a disappointment. It could be a fantastic game, and it will only be a disappointment. There is nothing they can do. They don't have a chance. So, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. This is what worries me about the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Because that was their Half-Life 3. For years, people were talking about remake. And we haven't heard any other news about it. We've heard it's a multi-episodic game.
Yeah, there was nothing shown off in the last one. So we've got another Sony conference in December.
There was just a screenshot. Yep, there hasn't been any news for about... 2 years?
Well, maybe they've realised it's going to be really difficult to recreate that 16-year-old game.
It is that one game that they would make that would save them. Everyone on the planet would buy it. Well, most of the people.
Yeah.
Actually, most nerds will buy it twice.
I disagree. The nerds will buy it, but the mainstream won't.
That's what I meant. The nerds will buy it twice. But it's the one game that will absolutely and utterly crucify them if they get it wrong.
I'll tell you what, it's one game that will sell more special editions, with the little figurines and stuff, than the standard boxed editions.
Yeah, I think it's probably the cost of them scaling all that.
God, I
those
just had
assets
a
up.
horrible thought. It's Square Enix and their pre-order policies. There's going to be like 50,000 pre-order versions, aren't there?
Oh yeah.
And they'll all be
probably.
exceptional value for money.
Oh Christ! I'm going to be a pauper.
You don't have to buy any of them, though.
I can't help it.
If you don't, you're not a proper nerd.
I'm a man who walks around in a Final Fantasy hoodie.
Marcus is going to end up. He's going to get his pre-order version through, and the package is actually going to be about 10 foot long because it's got the sword.
Oh God! Stop it, Will. You're making me all happy.
Happy in the
Stay sitting,
trousers.
old boy. Stay sitting.
Oh, I'm getting tingly.
Lovely.
Anyway, sorry. Let's move on.
Yeah, that's a really good
I've-
note to finish.
I've got two more. One is Borderlands 3.
No,
No, that's
fuck off.
happening. We know
No.
Gearbox are working on it.
Just
That's going to happen.
Don't make us play it, mate. Just no. Enough fucking Borderlands. Christ.
All right, then. How's this? There was this game years ago that I played on my friend's PC, and it was called Wing Commander. And I'm wondering if one day someone might make a spiritual follow-up to that.
They'd never get the money to make it, mate.
See, I was wondering if someone would make a follow-up to Colony Wars on the old PS2. But no one would do that with large spaceships and everything, and you can, maybe it could be a game where people could band together and take control of a ship.
And what about if
enjoy
they
the
made it a
cosmos.
first-person shooter as well, and a persistent world?
If only a game existed on the horizon that will never
Photorealistic
ever come out.
graphics. Yep.
I think
And
if they
you
did that,
could-
Rob, you'd never stop going on about it in
I
a
think
really
so.
destructive and
I think it'll be
fucking
one of those things.
nauseating way. It would be every
think-
time it mentioned, you'd just be, ugh. Like
You know what? They
need
could
to have an angry
tie
wank.
it in somehow to
I wasn't
Starship
going to
Troopers.
mention it at all, but I couldn't help myself while we were on the subject.
Yeah.
And that's because you've secretly got it, haven't you? You've bought a ship for $5,000 in real money. You're not moving
Yeah,
house.
well, when
You've
I
had
got
to
my
sell
redundancy,
everything 'cause
I
you
thought-
bought all the ships.
Yeah,
you know
when I
what?
got my-
You know what? All joking aside, all joking aside, they could tie it in with something like the concept of Starship Troopers. Because they all refer to people as citizens, and it's set in the stars, so you could work with that.
Yeah, I can see a name coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Starship Citizens. I think that'll work. That'll work as a game.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No,
let's
that's
move
why
on.
That's why I'm only
Although-
putting down a 5% mortgage because I wanted to keep some money back for my Dreadnought.
Here's an interesting idea, though.
You
tying
can move
right
into
back-
it, Rob.
Go on,
Tying
sorry,
right,
go on.
back to the tying right back to the start of the conversation, though, and how EA have got the Star Wars license and, frankly, only make money out of massive games. Wouldn't it be very interesting if they actually thought, let's try this whole games as this whole games as a service does work with this massively multiplayer online approach,
Yep.
and if they could actually get some quality. They've got all the tech, they've got all the skills. If they could actually get something quality around the Star Wars universe from that kind of approach, I think they could get some buy-in there.
Am I going to have to spend 10 grand on an executioner class Imperial Star Destroyer?
Well, no, there wouldn't be 10 grand on an individual one, but the amount of DLC available, you'd
Oh,
spend 10
God.
grand in total.
Yeah.
I'll have to pay spaceship tax and fuel and.
It would be all of the pay to win.
Oh,
Well,
God.
I think that's what Amy Hennig's game might well be turning into, to be honest, in some
I don't
form or
think she
another.
would like you to refer to it as Amy Hennig's game at that point.
Well, no, I don't think. She couldn't be further away from it. Anyway,
Right.
I think I'm spent as far as games, sequels of games that may be or may not be, or who knows.
Yeah, just remember,
Oh,
Sequel 3.
I was spent after the Final Fantasy VII Remake Buster Sword Edition.
This has been the Not Playing Podcast in partnership with notlistening.co.uk, where you can also hear myself, Marcus and Ian talk about movies and TV on the Not Watching Podcast, and Adam, Ash and Will talk about all manner of funny things on the Not Listening Podcast. You can email us at notplayingpodcast@gmail.com, or you can tweet at or follow us on Twitter at notplayingpod. You can find the show notes for this show at notlistening.co.uk, and if you're listening to us on iTunes, then please do give us a review. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for listening. See ya.
With no booty, my friend, I'm inclined to agree, 'cause I suck at